Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? The Middle East peace plan really is getting, things are really tightening up now. This is a prophecy alert, a prophecy alert. According to the Bible in Daniel chapter 12, the Bible says in verse 4, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words, seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." Daniel was shown the end, but was told to seal it. And John the Revelator was shown the end and was told to reveal it. Let me say that again. Daniel was shown the end and told to seal it. John was shown the end and told to reveal it. Now, here's what's going on in these last days. Jared Kushner, White House senior advisor, son-in-law of the President of the United States, is meeting with top foreign officials this week in Morocco. And then he goes to Jordan and then to Israel before he unveils the economic portion of his long-awaited Israeli-Palestinian peace plan during a conference next month, late June, in Bahrain on June 25th and 26th, according to a White House and administration officials. Traveling alongside him will be the special representative for the international negotiations, Jason Greenblatt, and the U.S. special representative for Iran, Brian Hook. Kushner. So you see what's happening? Peace deal. You're bringing in Greenblatt, Kushner, and we're going to go get the Iranian guy, the main Iranian negotiator. Brian Hook is coming, because you can't do this peace deal without, what do you do with Iran? Because Iran's not part of the peace deal. Iran's part of the problem. And it goes on to say that Kushner will also meet with officials in Switzerland and in London, where President Donald Trump will arrive for a state visit next week. Also, Kushner and the peace team will focus on shoring up support for the economic portion of the peace plan, which seeks a multi-billion-dollar investment in the region to help spur the Palestinian and surrounding economies should a peace agreement be reached. An administration official said Kushner made a very similar trip to the Middle East earlier this spring. He had the same goal. So the Palestinians are going to find out just how many billions of dollars that they're going to be blessed with if they take this deal. And the Trump peace deal is a one-state solution that enhances the Palestinians' livelihood with incredible amounts of money and economic infrastructure and investment by multiple Muslim Arab monarchies or Arab nations. The only guy that can stand in the way of this now is Mahmoud Abbas. And as one of my friends in Israel told me, a Muslim said to me when I mentioned, well, what if Abbas won't go along with it? He said, don't worry about Abbas. He's an old man. We will do a deal. So trust me, folks, this thing is coming. Now, I've met with several rabbis, and I've been to the Knesset 3 times. And I even spoke at the Knesset last May. And you got to hear me. When I brought up a two-state solution to, at that time, member of the Knesset, Yehuda Glick, Rabbi Yehuda Glick, he slammed his desk. We got it on videotape. I actually had to edit it a little bit. He got so angry over the fact that I even brought up the fact that there were people talking about a two-state solution. But a two-state solution is still on the table. And if you study Bible prophecy, it still might wind up that way, or at least the scriptures sure lean to it a lot. I don't know. I'm just going to cover it. I'm just giving you the facts. Now, a Trump administration officials, what they want to do is offer a one-state solution. They do not want to part the land. President Trump does not want to part the land. If the Israelis decide to part the land to make the deal happen to get their third temple, they will do it. But it will have to be the Israelis. But Trump knows that it's the money. It takes the money to get the Muslims to agree to finally settling their differences and everybody trying to live together. How long will this plan last, Paul Begley? Well, if this is the plan that the Bible speaks of, it'll last about 3.5 years. If it's something leading up to the plan, and then I can't answer that question. And then that's where we have to wait and see what the final details are. Does it include the building of the third temple? If it does, folks, you better get your heart right with God, because Christ is coming soon. Now, the Trump administration officials have offered almost no details about the political portion of the plan, which Kirshner has called in-depth operational document. And Trump has calls this the deal of the century. U.S. officials hope to drum up interest in their effort by focusing on the potential economic benefits of this peace plan before they address the more contentious issues, like will there be a Palestinian state? And if so, what is the status of Jerusalem? What about the Temple Mount? And that kind of thing. Now, while the date of a full plan release remains unclear, it is expected to be rolled out by the summer. And each of the stops on Kirshner's trip is a pivotal place for the Trump administration to shore up support ahead of the planned rollout. Think about this almost as an election campaign. Kirshner went out, he got all the red states together, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Egypt, Kuwait, Oman, all these guys, okay? And now you have a purple states, Qatar, that's another one that he got. Then you have the purple states that they're trying to get on board that are undecided, whose support would surely help, like Egypt and Jordan and some of these others that are undecided. And then you go to the ones that don't want to play unless they get paid, and as long as it works out the best for them. So that's exactly what you see Kirshner doing in this deal, as he's been playing the negotiating role along with Jason Greenblatt. And now you got the Iranian question. Here comes the representative for Iran, Brian Hook, who's coming in to not to throw a left hook, but to try to get everyone to understand, what do we do with Iran? And I think that's where that strategic plan gets put out there. What is Trump doing? He's squeezing them. He squeezed them, and he's going to squeeze them. And he's trying to get everybody else to go along. And it looks like Russia and China are starting to play along now. And if that's the case, then it won't take, but still, it's going to take some time. Okay, that's going to take some time. That's like phase 4. Okay, now, Sarah Netanyahu just reached a plea deal in a corruption case. They're getting this off the table now. Netanyahu secured a reduced fine of only 55,000 shekels, down to, where it was originally 359,000 shekels. So 55,000 shekels, guys, is like 15, it's about 20,000 US dollars. It's no big deal. The state prosecution and Prime Minister Netanyahu's wife, Sarah Netanyahu, have reached a plea deal which avoids extended corruption trials against her in that prepared food affair, which was such a joke. This was a political ploy to try to defeat Netanyahu out of office. It didn't work. Netanyahu got elected. So now let's settle this thing with Sarah. And Sarah Netanyahu is taking it on the chin for her husband, to be quite honest with you here. I give her a lot of credit for that. She didn't do anything wrong. She fed people who showed up to an event. There was more people showed up than they thought. So she went and ordered the food to feed the people. You're gonna call that corruption? No, I would call what we've witnessed in the swamp corruption. Okay, this, I would say, somebody trying to make things work on the last second, okay? She didn't use the appropriate account. I mean, come on. All right. And the other charges against Netanyahu was he received a box of cigars and he received a bottle of wine. They call that bribery. I mean, come on, guys. Let's get real. So anyway, this is what's going on. I'm going to give you more details of what's taking place, though, on this peace deal. Now, John Bolton has just made a statement. He says that the Iranians were using landmines, or not landmines, but mines in the ocean that likely are what caused the UAE oil tanker attack. Remember this 2 weeks ago when those 7 tankers were exploded, sabotaged. Everybody's trying to figure out who did it. Some people wanted to blame the United States on a false flag. I remember people saying that. I'm like, are you serious? You know it's the Iranians. I got the reports. The only people reporting on this was Deb Kafal out of Israel and me. And then I had Stephen Ben-Noon on my show. Stephen had gotten information from his folks, even that it was U.S. false flag. He later said, Pastor Begley, nope, you were right. Your sources were right. It was the Iranians that did it. And they used mines and they used Houthi speedboats. And he said, so, he came on and corrected it. I give Stephen Ben-Noon a lot of credit for that. So, I do the same thing. If I'm wrong, I'll say, well, messed up. My people my sources right 95% of the time. This time they were wrong. Okay? Because we're big boys. We don't have a hidden agenda. We're just trying to tell you what's going on. And this is certainly a big deal here. John Bolton is just basically pointing out right now that the people who were saying that the United States were doing a false flag on us, he said that accusation is absolutely ridiculous. And he said the comments were along the fact that people were saying that the overthrow of the mullahs regime in Tehran came during a briefing to journalists in Dubai. And he said, it's clear that Iran is behind the attack. Who else would you think would be doing it? Someone from Nepal? He told journalists at a U.S. embassy briefing. So he's saying, look, squarely, put the blame right where it belongs. It's the Iranians. The Iranians are trying to sabotage. They're trying to fight back against the fact that they're being squeezed on their oil, and they're trying to fight back against Saudi Arabia because they hate them. So, long story short, I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of everything. Oh, by the way, what about the elections? Tonight at midnight, it has to be decided whether or not there's going to be a new election or will they form a government. I believe they're going to somehow pull this thing off with the government. I also know this. Some of my sources are telling me, but if there is a new election, look for President Trump himself to go to Israel to support Netanyahu to get this thing done, because cannot have a different prime minister if you're going to get the entire Middle East peace deal done. Netanyahu has to be the man at the prime, and that's what all this is about. So, folks, this is a prophecy alert. Now, the Bible tells us also in the book of Daniel, it says this about the covenant with many. In verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week or 7 years. In the midst of that week, or 3.5 years, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. When the Antichrist walks into the temple of God before the worshipers of God and declares that he is God, standing in the holy place, or the holy of holies. When you see this, Jesus said, then you can know that the time, the desolation thereof, is nigh. And then he said the Jews in the West Bank, the Jews in Samaria, Jesus said, will have to flee to the wilderness. So, folks, you are witnessing the beginning of this situation. And as Dr. Irvin Baxter would tell you, if you see this peace deal sign, you better understand that time is running out. If you ask Jack Van Impe, who I've been on the phone with a couple different times, long conversations, he said, Paul, I believe even at the age of 89, he said, I believe I'm going to see the peace deal signed. I believe I'm going to be alive and see it. I might even be here when the Lord comes back. And he said, so listen, folks, we're in the end times. Are you serious? We're in the end times. Give your life to Jesus Christ. We're running out of time.